We've discussed the fact that Earth is in this sweet spot referred to as the habitable zone, also known as the Goldilocks Zone. And we won't repeat what we've discussed previously, so if you missed that or need to review, we encourage you to do so as we build on what was said previously. And we now consider the fact that our planet is only able to host life because it's able to facilitate H2O, which we normally refer to as water. And it's in three constant forms here on planet Earth: solid, liquid, and gas. And that is the only reason life can exist on Earth. Well, that and dozens of other variables that combine to make life possible, but we'll talk more about that later, Lord willing. So first, in this devotional about H2O, I want to discuss the necessity of having H2O in solid form, first of all, what we call ice. Ice is formed when H2O freezes. And most of us are aware that water freezes once the temperature reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 Celsius or 273.5 Kelvin. I'm just a Buckeye, born and raised here in Ohio, so I'm generally going to stick to the terms in Fahrenheit because that's what most of our listeners and viewers will understand as well. And it just so happens that as I record this, we're in the middle of a terrible cold snap here in Ohio with sub-zero temperatures. So we're getting a real taste of life on a frozen planet. Some of us might say, especially when going through a sub-zero cold snap, man, I wish it would never get cold. And if you feel that way, there are places you can live like Hawaii or anywhere along the equator where freezing temperatures are as rare as Halley's Comet. But of course, the North and South poles are in a perpetual freeze. And if you've never watched a documentary about life in those Arctic regions, you really ought to. There are months at a time when very few living things can survive the extreme cold and weather at the top and bottom of our planet. But ice in various places serves some very important roles, and without it, life on Earth would be difficult, if not impossible. For example, in places called high albedo regions, the huge bright sheets of ice deflect incoming solar radiation. This regulates temperatures, and that keeps huge quantities of water from evaporating, allowing us Earthlings to have plenty of liquid water. And we'll discuss how important liquid water is in our next Evidence for God devotional. But another fact is that when water turns to ice, it basically goes into storage. It's no different than having ice in our freezer stored for future use. But our planetary freezer is outdoors because of the cold temperature at extreme north and extreme south segments of the Earth. And beneath those huge glacier that you hear about melting all the time because of the climate change propaganda, underneath those glaciers are glacial lakes where pristine water is protected by thick layers of ice for our future use, while also hosting very important microbial communities that thrive in the water under that ice. And as water freezes and thaws in cycles, this process produces fresh minerals and into the water for the sea creatures, but also for the humans when we drink pure, clean mineral water. And during these perpetually constant freeze and thaw cycles, energy is absorbed and then released. And this whole process kind of acts like a system of lungs, producing an effect that regulates temperatures and keeps our planet from going completely wild, at least more wild than it already is. Folks, this is no accidental system. This is all evidence for God. And the psalmist observed these sorts of things in God's creation, and he wrote in Psalm 95, verses 3 through 6, "For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. In his hand are the deep places of the earth. The strength of the hills is his also. The sea is his, and he made it. His hands formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker."